welcome to the GNAT News Project In Depth. Glad to have you with us today, and glad to have Dr. David Evans, who's the president of Southern Vermont College, with us here in the studio today. David, welcome.
Thank you very much.
Southern Vermont College began its life in 1926 as St. Joseph's Business School and became an accredited junior college in 1962, moved in 1974 to its current location on the Everett Estate in Bennington. Prior to coming to SVC as its latest president, Dr. Evans served as the vice president of academic affairs and dean of faculty at Buena Vista University, a four-year college in Iowa. And he became the president in January of 2015. So, a year and a half later, just to get us started, David, what attracted you to the job at SVC to pry you loose from Iowa?
Sure. Well, the mission of the college is very attractive to me, and we'll talk more about that as we go along, I'm sure. But I'm very compelled by the way the college creates opportunity for students. I was attracted by its small size. I've been for a long time interested in living in Vermont. There are a lot of things about Vermont that are consistent with things I'm interested in terms of sustainability and local food and a number of things like that. And I'd known about the college because a friend of mine had been associated with the college at an earlier time, and so I'd learned about it from him, and it seemed like a really good fit to me, and so it was just a great confluence of opportunity and timing, and here I am.
All right. Well, it seems to me that schools like Southern Vermont College, and I know you're not a quote-unquote community college or junior college or a two-year school, a full four-year school, but it seems like, at least historically, Southern Vermont College has played a role to kind of be a good starting point for a lot of students who might not be ready or interested in a traditional four-year college experience someplace farther away from home. Do you offer an opportunity for kids who might not want to do that to do something post-secondary school? I was wondering, what do you see as the role of schools like that now? Because it seems like there's been a lot of discussion about how do we, I won't say fix the problems of higher education, but how do we sort of broaden the opportunities for kids to do something beyond high school?
Sure. Well, and I mean, there are a lot of issues swirling around in that question. One of the things is SVC is intentionally designed and by mission and plan to be a place where students who, for example, might be the first in their families to go to college, or who have come from a place of economic challenge or similar kinds of issues, to be a place that they can navigate successfully. And I think that that is a really important part of the college's mission, and it's, as I say, part of everybody's intention. So indeed, we do have a fairly large number of students from the local area who are commuters, for whom we are an access point, and some of them come and do very well and graduate. Some of them come and do very well and transfer on to a different institution that may be larger or have a bigger array of programs, those kinds of things. So that's all okay, and I think that we try to make it possible for students to make it through and navigate some of these very mysterious things about financial aid and registration and finding that first job and getting internship placements and all those kinds of things, which are easy for people who come from families of generations of professionals or people whose family parents are faculty members or something. Those are all very easy to navigate. But if you don't come from those backgrounds, it's just opaque. And so we have worked very hard and continue to work very hard to break those barriers down. The other part of this is academic support. We have a lot of very talented students, but not all of them have figured out totally how sort of harness their talents to be successful. Time management or study habits or how to prioritize different kinds of work, save the easy fun stuff for last, for example. So we have a large team of people, including the faculty, but others as well, who work with those students to help them shape their experience and shape their studies so they can be successful. So it's very important.
While I was preparing for our talk today, I read back and noticed that the board chair of Southern Vermont College, Deborah Wiley, when you were inaugurated, said that the college is at an exciting time of an exciting juncture of stability and growth. Mm-hmm. What did she mean by that?
Well, the college has, I think, had an improving reputation. My predecessor, Karen Gross, did a lot on the national higher education scene, which I think helped put the college on the map, and that's very important. We have become more broadly known for doing the kinds of things that we were just talking about, so that's really critical. Many small colleges, including SVC, face significant challenges financially. The demographics in the Northeast are not particularly favorable, but the foundation is good, and we're working hard to create an array of programs and an array of services and a reputation for success that will attract students to us and enable us to carry on and do what we do even better than we do it now.
Mm-hmm. Where do you see the school being in 5 or 10 years? Is it probably going to be different than it is now, of course, but
I would imagine.
What new things do you hope will come to be part of the experience of SVC?
Well, I think we definitely need to increase our enrollment. We're at around 400 or so right now. We have capacity without adding a lot of physical capacity. We could probably go to 500 or 525, which would be great. I think we're also looking at continuing to evaluate our portfolio of academic programs to ensure that we have the programs that meet the needs of the students who we attract. So we're looking at some new things in healthcare. We're considering some redoing of some existing programs to line up a little bit more with what our students actually do. For example, many of our students end up going into various kinds of nonprofit. Mm-hmm. We have a lot of great internship opportunities, especially in Bennington, but in a more wide range than that as well. But we have a lot of opportunities for students, and they come in, I think, not thinking about this nonprofit area, or another way to think of it is mission-driven organizations, not necessarily nonprofits. So we're looking this year at a more thoroughly structured and constructed version of that program that takes advantage of the fact that we have great connections with a lot of nonprofits in the area. We can get students very rich internship opportunities and practicum opportunities in that area, and a lot of students end up doing it anyway. So if we can package it up in a way that it's a little more transparent to prospective students that this is one of the things that we do very well, that'll be good. Then finally, we do need some physical additions. We're always hoping for a generous donor to come along and help us with that, but we could use a little more classroom space. We could use some more meeting space. There are kind of areas of need in that area, and I'd like to accomplish at least some of that in the next 5 to 10 years.
You know, when a lot of folks hear the word college, the next word that comes to mind is tuition.
Yes.
And college debt. Big problem, obviously, for a lot of folks, particularly younger folks who are going through school right now or recently graduated. Coming out, one hears, astounding numbers of dollars that they're in debt. You know, from your perspective as a college president, I mean, what do you make of that? I mean, is this a big problem? Has it been overblown, or what have we got here?
Well, it's a very complicated problem, and it is a big problem. Some parts of the conversation have been overblown, so there are a lot of moving parts to student debt. I think one of the real issues has been that it is true, objectively true, that the cost of college tuition, the sticker price of college tuition, has gone up a lot more rapidly than inflation over the last 25 or 30 years. And so you have genuinely scary sticker prices on private college education. We're not too bad, but I know that, you know, you see these $65,000 a year numbers, and even people who really have good incomes can't swing that.
Oh my God.
So that's an issue. So debt, though, the average student debt for somebody who's completed a bachelor's degree is in the high 20s to low $30,000 range, which is a substantial amount of money, but it's about the average price of a new car. So when you weigh it that way, and you think about your $30,000 car that 3 years from now is worth $12,000 versus your $30,000 college education, or your $30,000 in debt from college education that increases your lifelong earning capacity by well over $1 million, then that's not so bad. But the other part of it, though, is there are these cases that you're implying where somebody has $125,000 in debt, or you know, sometimes they'll go to law school and it's $200,000, and I mean that's a real problem. And those are outliers. They are not a large number of the population, but that's an issue that needs to be attended to. I think the other part of this is, and the really tragic and dangerous one, is students who go to college, take on a fairly substantial amount of debt, and leave without a degree. Because they do not get the economic value that comes from having the degree, but have incurred most, if not all, of the cost of incurring that degree. So their earning power doesn't go up, their debt does, and that's where the real problem is. And so emphasizing completion, trying to counsel students earlier if they're not going to make it. There are a lot of different small things that need to be done to help out with that.
I mean, one of the ongoing debates over the years has been the role of college in helping the students prepare for the workforce, to participate in that. And I know there are those who think that the classic liberal arts education is the best way to do that. You come out with a well-rounded education, you're exposed to a number of different things. The counter-argument to that, I guess, has been something that, well, colleges should be more focused in helping kids graduate with a certain set of skills. Related to that is a question I've often pondered to myself about the role of high schools or secondary schools in providing students who aren't really ready for ready for college to get more vocational training. I guess I just wondered, what are your thoughts on those questions?
Well, I think on the liberal arts, all three of my degrees are in English literature, so I'm a classic liberal arts person. But the thing about it is, I do actually agree that the classical liberal arts are outstandingly good career preparation for a lot of different disciplines. However, the pathways from the classical liberal arts into careers are not so clear all the time, and also they're very often attached to graduate school. I went to graduate school in English and got a master's and a PhD in English, and here I am now. But that was certainly not something that I did when I graduated from college when I was 22. So those are some real challenges. I think the other thing that you have is certainly the classical liberal arts skills in terms of communication, writing, quantitative literacy, analysis, critical thinking, all of those things are immensely valuable in the job market. But the smart strategy, I think, and this is one of the reasons I like SVC, is that we work really hard to work with students to develop those skills: communication, teamwork, critical thinking, analysis, all of those kinds of things, but also to give them, if they want this, give them a clear pathway to a career. So nursing, law enforcement, business, radiologic technology, those programs, which are some of our larger programs, so that they can be gainfully employed when they graduate, if that's how they want to go. But what you hope is that the other part of this, the liberal arts part of this, will stick with them and will be part of what they get from their experience at SVC, so that they are the especially talented and engaged people who are then picked out for promotion, or they are the ones who stand out because they have particularly strong skills in areas that not everybody in their field is expected to have. So they can become leaders, they can maybe pursue further education, they can get promoted into management, all of those kinds of things, all of which come with the kind of liberal arts skills, rather most of the time than the technical skills. So all of that is what we're trying to accomplish.
It must be difficult because the workforce, the economy is just changing so fast, so rapidly. Globalization, technology just have upended so many professions that once were considered secure, bedrock, no worries kind of jobs, that now I guess, all kinds of question marks could come up about whether people will be doing that sort of thing in 30 or 40 years.
Well, and that's a real concern. I mean, you think about what had been very good jobs, working in auto factories, a lot of industrial kinds of things, even some technological things in the 60s and 70s when all the computers in the United States were actually made in the United States.
Right.
TVs were made in the United States and all of that. So one of the things about the liberal arts, or at least the inclinations that go along with the liberal arts, kind of intellectual curiosity and engagement and all of those kinds of things, is that they ideally are going to help students develop the capacity to be flexible and to adapt, because I think that's really the issue with the global economy and what's going on with technology and globalization and all of that, is people have to be prepared to adjust. They have to be prepared to change careers. They have to be prepared to change jobs. They have to understand the transferability of their skills, and they have to be confident in those skills. So they have to know that even if job X that they're doing when they graduate sort of disappears into the mists as the economy develops over the next 30 years, the things that they've learned in doing that job, along with their own inclinations to continue learning and to continue engaged with their own development, will give them a place to land, the next place to land. So that's really what you hope for, is to give people the sense that they're empowered to kind of control their destiny a little bit more than might otherwise be the case.
What about online learning? I mean, a couple of years ago, that seemed to be kind of bursting forward as a big new breakthrough in how students were going to go to school.
Right.
And indeed, the very notion of going away for 4 years to an undergraduate school was sort of like, well, why would kids need to do that anymore? You wouldn't have to take on all that debt. You could just do all your homework from home or wherever you happen to be living. And it seemed like something that was about to really explode onto the whole scene. But I get the sense, I haven't been hearing as much about that in the last few years, and I guess I just wondered, is that going on under the radar, or have things changed a bit on that?
Well, there are a couple of things going on. I think that online, in the sense that you were talking about, was oversold, and I think massive open online courses, MOOCs, were oversold, and those fully online undergraduate degree programs probably have been oversold. Online is a great tool. It creates a lot of flexibility for people who may need to work or have family situations that they need to navigate around. It creates access for people who might not be able to get physically to a campus to pursue their studies, or drop everything for 4 years to get a bachelor's degree. So all of those things are really important and good. I think the challenge, though, and it goes back to a number of things we've talked about, is online learning requires a pretty high level of self-discipline, a kind of ability to self-guide, and a kind of willingness to sit alone in a room with a computer doing your homework, and a number of things like that not everybody has. And so what I think we're finding now is that for traditional undergraduates, you can do very well with a mix where there's some online, some face-to-face, in the context of some personal mentoring, where even our students on campus are oftentimes taking an online course or two, but they're still there. They're interacting with at least a few of their faculty members face-to-face like we are. They have access to an office with a person in it to answer questions about financial aid. They can see me walking around campus or eating in the dining hall. And for a lot of students, I think that's a pretty critical part of the entire experience and sort of part of the road to success. So online is a really good thing. Done right, it's tremendously helpful. It's not right for everybody, and it's certainly not ever, anytime within the foreseeable future, going to be a replacement for a traditional bricks and mortar experience. It's a supplement, an alternative, but not a replacement.
Just real quick before we go, back when I was going to high school in Bennington a couple of years ago, not very long, nursing and criminal justice were, I think, the two sort of main things that SVC was known for. Is that still the case, or?
Nursing is one of our large programs. We're hoping to grow that. We've had some great success recently. We got accredited by CCNE, which is the Council for Collegiate Nursing Education, which is the premier accrediting agency. That was about a year ago. We're very happy about that. We want to grow nursing. Criminal justice is doing well. We've had some great student success. As you may know, both the police chief in Bennington and the Bennington County Sheriff are SVC graduates, which we're really happy about, as well as the police chief in North Adams. So we have a number of our alums in high places in law enforcement in this area. Radiologic technology, which is kind of high-end X-ray and healthcare major, is strong and successful. We're increasing our strength in the humanities a little bit. We've got some interesting new programs there, which have been pretty exciting over the last couple of years. So we're trying to build a diversified range of programs to serve the needs of our students and to do the things that we've talked about, to create that career path, to create that sort of liberal arts inclination for students so that they're prepared to face the changing economy. So that's where we are.
Okay, great. Well, thank you, Dr. Evans.
My pleasure.
Thank you for being with us today and taking the time to come up and share all this with us. And thank you also for being with us today. And we'll see you the next time on the News Project In Depth. Take care.